Hi guys, I'm Tracy and welcome to this year's online August free courses. I'm going to be taking you through higher level geography and today we're going to be looking at the rock cycle. Now in this class we're going to look at the rock cycle but also looking at the exam structure. So I'm going to start off with the exam structure here, then going on to the rock cycle. Now one thing you can do for yourself and for me before you start this course is make sure you have the notes downloaded and printed out. You need them there, you need a pen, you need your notes, you need your highlighters to get started. So we're going to get started over here on the exam structure. Now why I start every single year on the exam structure is I find students don't actually know the structure of the Leaving Cert higher level geography exam. And it's critical when you walk into that exam you know the structure. Why? Because the timing of the exam is so tight. Your exam structure, your exam paper is worth 80% of your final grade, with 20% going for your field investigation, which I'll discuss in a couple of minutes. So our exam structure starts off with section number 1, which is our short questions. Now our short questions is made up of, 12 short questions, and we have to answer 10 out of them 12 short questions. Now each of them short questions are worth 8 marks, so at 8 marks each. So that means that our short questions in total are worth 80 marks. Now do the calculations there yourself. 80 marks is actually worth 20% of your final grade. So them short questions are worth 80 marks, 20% of your final grade. It's a huge proportion of that paper, the exam paper. Now, one thing I will say about that is that 20%, students generally will say to themselves, okay, I know how to do them short questions, no problem, I'm not going to practice them. But the thing with the short questions is if you want to get full marks, you have to practice them. They're getting more difficult and more difficult each and every year. After your short questions, which are going to take you approximately 25 minutes or less, okay? If you're looking for your H1, you're going for 20 minutes. You have your structured and essay style questions. Now this is the part of the paper that people find most difficult. So you're going to start off, you're going to go straight into these questions, and what you'll find is your first 3 questions, question number 1, question number 2, and question number 3 are your physical geography questions. These are part of your core number 1. Now in the exam, your question 1, 2 and 3 are each worth equal marks, 80% of your final grade, 80 marks on your paper, and you choose one of them. So let's say for example you choose question number 1, you read through the question and you choose which ones you want. That is then made up of 3 parts, a part A, a part B and a part C, okay? Now every long question has the same structure, part A, part B, part C. Your part A are your shorter short questions, definition style questions. They're worth 20 marks and should take no longer than 5 minutes. And I'm emphasizing the timing constantly because this is where students go wrong. Your part B is your essay style question. Your essay style question is worth 30 marks and should take you approximately, or less I should say, 15 minutes, no longer than 15 minutes, give it. Part C is another essay style question, 30 marks and 15 minutes. Now what that means to us, and once you get this structure and this timing right, it means that that's 80 marks in total for your physical geography, which again is 20% of your paper and will take you 35 minutes. Now guys, I'm going to point it out to you, and I'll keep pointing out to you, it is so important that you stick to that timeline, okay? Very, very often students come out and say, I ran out of time, I didn't answer this, that and the other, and that cannot happen, okay? Now, what you have after that, so you have your physical, you pick 1 out of the 3 of them. You then have your regional geography. Your regional geography, again, part of your core, which is question number 4, 5 and 6. Again, the same structure applies. There's a part A worth 20 marks, part B worth 30, and part C worth 30. 5, 15, 15. You choose one of these. So maybe you might choose question number 5, whatever suits you on the day. Your regional geography people struggle quite a lot with. You're learning about your regions in Ireland, your core and your periphery. You're using your European regions, your core, periphery, and also your subcontinental or continental region, either India or Brazil. You have your cultural regions, you have your socioeconomic regions, your regions of industrial decline. It's a huge area of the course but can be broken down quite easily. After that, you have your elective. Now, often students will come into me and say, okay, I've done economic and environmental. That is not right. You do one or the other, okay? So you either do your economic or your environmental. There is no point studying both because you don't answer both sections. So here your economic is questions 7, 8, and 9. Your environmental is question number 10, 11, and 12. And you answer either the economic or environmental. So you don't study both. Do not make that mistake of doing your economic and your environmental, one or the other, okay? So for example, I don't do economic, okay? So we do environmental here at the Academy and the Day School. So we do question 10, 11 and 12 and focus on them. We don't look at 7, 8 and 9. Students don't look at that on the day. Same structure applies. You have a part A, a part B, a part C, which is 20, 30, 30, 5 minutes, 15, 15, 20% of your paper. Now the last thing you have on your paper is your option. And I'm just going to write this out so it's a little bit clear. You have your option. Now, the large majority, over 80% of the country, does the same option. They do geoecology, which is definitely the easiest of them to answer. Now this is question 16, 17 and 18 on your exam paper. And again, it's worth, I suppose, your 80 marks, but the structure is very different here. So you might pick question number 17, and that is one essay style question worth 80 marks, or 20% of your final grade on that paper. So that essay question, your geoecology, is 20% of your paper for that one essay. And this is a higher level topic only, so that's why it's that little bit more difficult, okay? Now, just to go back at it one more time, you have your short questions, you answer 10 out of 12, 8 marks each, 80 marks in total, 20% of your paper, max 25 minutes. After this, you have your physical geography, your question 1, 2 and 3. Again, structure for here, here and here is the same. A part A, 20 marks, 5 minutes, B, 30 marks, 15 minutes, C, 30 marks, 15 minutes. 80 marks in total, i.e. 35 minutes in total. Same structure for your regional, part A, B and C. You choose 1 out of your 3. Same for your elective, choose 1 out of the 3 with a part A, B and C. Finally, your option, you choose 1 out of your 3 and you give that 35 minutes in total for that essay, which is 20% of your paper and 80 marks. Now, I hope that, and you have the handout there with you, okay? So you're going to be filling in the time and make sure you have that timing down. It's very, very important from the start of 5th year, never mind 6th year, that you start getting this timing right. You know exactly how long it takes you to do each section, because that's how you're going to build up your marks. Now, that's the first thing you do, okay? You learn your structure of the paper, you learn exactly what questions you're going to do, because on the day of that exam, you have 2 hours and 50 minutes, and you cannot spend a second longer reading questions that you are not doing, okay? It is not possible to do that. You don't have the time. Now, what you have here is the structure of the paper. Now, what you will see straight away is short questions, 20% of your paper. Geoecology, another 20% of your paper. So with your geoecology, your option, and your short questions, i.e. they're less than an hour in your exam, you have 40% of that paper done. You've that paper passed, okay? And that's where you need to be smart about this. You need to say to yourself, okay, where am I going to pick up my marks? This is where I'm going to pick them up. This is where I'm going to get these marks, okay? Fill in your part A's, which are your shorter parts. You have just under, I suppose, or just over, I should say, 50% of your paper done. Now, this is what we focus on here in the grind. So we focus on maximising your marks by, I suppose, studying smarter. And this year what we're going to be doing in the grinds when we start off in September is we're going to start off with our geoecology. Now, why am I going to start off this year's grinds with the geoecology? I'm starting them off because I want my grind students to have their best foot put forward by the time it gets to June. And what I see time and time again is students leaving their geoecology until after maybe February when their mocks are done. Okay, that's too late. These are long essays, these are 35 minutes of solid writing. Okay, there's kind of like, I'm going to say just for a rough estimate, around 6 main essays there that you have to know, and we kind of predict them down going year by year. But that's where we're going to start in September. So you have 20% done and then go back into our other sections, building up our marks from there. But we're going to study smarter, not harder, okay? Now, when you look at this here, this is 80%. What you have then is you have 20% as your field investigation, okay? Now, I'm not going to dwell on the field investigation, as 20% is a really, really easy 20 marks as long as you get the correct guidance and you are given, I suppose, the correct supports to complete it. Most students will complete a coastal or a fluvial study, so either at the sea or a river. And one thing I will point out is just to make sure you get the correct guidance and structure in relation to the kind of key terminology you need to use. The structure is extremely important. There's just little tweaks and little twists you do to make sure you get that full 20%, and that getting that full 20% is entirely possible to point out, okay? So it's really possible to get it, but you will not get it unless you have the structure and the correct terminology and you go by the marking scheme. Now, in relation to all this, the field study, the exam itself, what you have is you have your breakdown of grades. So here's the 2019 breakdown, okay? Now, many people look at this straight away and is a little bit shocked because most students will come in and say, I want a H1, okay? We all want something, okay? And some people just say they want a H1, and fair play to them. But you have to remember that's 3.7, okay? So just over 3% of people get a H1 or got it in 2019. That's an increase on 2018 and 2017's figures for H1s, okay? So that's gone up, not down, okay? You'll see the majority of people, most people, are under their H4 or below, okay? This category up here, particularly these two, are extremely, extremely tough to get into, okay? There's a serious competition to get into the H1 and H2 bracket, okay? Now, how do you get into the H1, H2 bracket, okay? You need to make sure that obviously your field study is perfect. That's the first thing, okay? And we'll be talking about that in the grinds as time goes on. So the field study is absolutely perfect. You have a nailed down correct structure, correct terminology, everything in the right format, no little mistakes like not putting a heading on a bar chart, okay? In relation to the exam then, you need to make sure your essays are perfect, okay? Now, what do I mean by perfect? And this is something that comes up in the state examinations, or the examiner's report or commissioner's report every single year. I like to simplify it down to avoid repetition and waffle, okay? Students will say, I wrote 2.5 pages for an essay, and you'd read it, and then there you'd be thinking to yourself, you wrote 2.5 pages of the same thing again and again and again. You told me limestone is a permanent rock 6 times, okay? Now, I don't know, but by the 6th time, it kind of does get a little bit boring, okay, for your examiner, and I'm one of those people, okay? We want factual sentences. We want short factual sentences, and we'll be talking about SRPs in a minute. No repetition, no big long, you're not in English, you're not, in English talking about Hamlet or whoever's in English, big waffly, therefore, you want the facts. They want factual sentences, get to the point, write it down. They want keywords, they want examples, they want definitions. It's factual sentences. It is no repetition, no waffle, okay? Facts, facts, facts. And the thing about it is, if you don't have your essays going in there and you're not looking at the same essay all the time, you won't have them facts, okay? So that's what we aim to do. I give you structures, I'm going to be giving you methodologies to get them facts and then structures learned off by heart, so that you walk into that exam and you will be hitting that category up there, okay? Because that is it. Also, don't be delusioned by thinking, I'm going to get my 20% for my short questions because, I've done one, maybe 2 papers, and I've got 20%, I can guarantee you need to practice that. And that's what we do. I'll be giving out all short questions for each one, each section, section by section by section, again and again and again for you to practice. Now, that's enough of me waffling, that's enough of me kind of lecturing you about the course and really telling you how difficult it is, because it is, believe me, it's a difficult course, okay? And it is only the best of the best that get up here, okay? And what I mean by the best of the best, it's the best workers. It doesn't require a lot of talent, it requires hard work and dedication. Now, I want you to get out your notes for the rock cycle, and we're going to start on these here. Now, why I chose to do the rock cycle with you today, I want to do something beneficial. I know it's still your summer holidays, so I want to give you an hour and 15 minutes of, I suppose, work that you can use going into 6th year, or maybe you're going into 5th year. So the rock cycle you've probably done, you have an idea of, and this will be a recap of. Make sure you have the notes in front of you. You've got a lot of notes there, okay? Now we're going to start off, have your highlighter at the ready. We're going to start off. So the rock cycle appears every single year on the Leave Cert paper, okay? It has never not appeared. It appears in your short questions, your 12 short questions, you answer 10, which is 80 marks in total. So it appears there. And then it appears in your physical geography section, question 1, 2 and 3, which you choose one of. Sometimes it even appears twice. So it's asked in your short questions, your part A's and your essay style questions in 1, 2 and 3, okay? So what we want to do, we'll get straight and have your highlight at the ready. I'm going to be pointing out a lot of things to you now, not really writing on the board. This is just for part A's short questions. So over to page number 2. So highlighter, pen at the ready. Formation of rocks. Rocks are classified according to the processes that form them. They're divided into 3 main categories. So we have our igneous, our sedimentary and metamorphic. Now, if you've done this, you should be able to pause the video and, without looking to the bottom of the page, write down what are your examples. So you should be able to get 2, if not 3, for each. Now, the rock cycle demonstrates the formation, the breakdown and reformation of rocks due to, highlight the word, internal and endogenic. Highlight that word, endogenic. Now, beside endogenic, I want you to draw an arrow out and write 2018 part A. The word endogenic came up in 2018. They said, briefly explain endogenic forces. Now, in your part A, and when they say, just to point out, briefly explain, if they say briefly explain, that is 2 + 2 on your marking scheme. Now, what are endogenic forces? Endogenic forces are forces that go on inside the Earth's surface. So something that's happening inside the Earth's surface. For example, convection currents. So write down example convection currents there. And exogenic, highlight exogenic or external. Beside exogenic, you can write down weathering and erosion. That's something that happens on the Earth's surface. So endogenic, inside. Exogenic, on the Earth's surface, weathering and erosion. So part A 2018 that was asked. You have figure 1, have a look at it there. So let's look at our group, our table on the bottom of the page. This has been asked a couple of times in short questions. So here you have your groups. You have your first one, your igneous rock. They're formed when hot molten volcanic material, highlight the words, cools and solidifies. So your igneous rocks are formed when magma or lava cools and solidifies. Now, if you don't like the word solidifies, pop down under that, becomes solid. So solidifies or becomes solid. And your examples there, your main 2 examples that everybody knows and loves is granite and basalt. Now, they're your main 2, but I do have more there. I have dolerite and gabbro for you as well. Just 2 additional ones, obviously, if you're aiming for this category up here. Your sedimentary is your next ones. So sedimentary is your group or your category, and they're formed from the compression and compaction. Highlight them 2 words there. Compression and compaction of the remains of plants, animals, and other rock types. Now, a word to write in there beside compression and compaction is lithification. Now, lithification was asked in a 2017 part A off the top of my head. Now you can double check there. 2017 part A, they asked you to briefly explain lithification, and that's just the compression and compaction of these materials, which we discussed there. Now, your main examples, which we have, the main one we all talk about is limestone. We also have sandstone. Now notice the sedimentary rocks, these two, the main two we have, both of them end in the word stone. So it's an easy way to actually remember your sedimentary rocks, limestone, sandstone. You do have shale and coal there, not as important, okay? Your last category of rock, which is your metamorphic category. So these rocks were once igneous rocks and or sedimentary rocks, which were changed due to great heat and or pressure. Highlight changed and highlight heat and or pressure. So due to heat from obviously the interior of the earth, the magma, the convection currents, pressure from plate tectonics, plates actually moving. Now you have your types there, your types, and I'm going to write down one main one, we'll go for one actually. We'll just write down marble for the moment, okay? So marble is our main one there, and I do want to point out one thing later on with metamorphic rocks for you. So marble, you have quartzite as well, you have slate, actually we'll just pop down quartzite. And you have your slate, and you have your schist, and your gneiss. G-N-E-I-S-S is pronounced nice, okay? Now, all these are very, very important, but really this is just the very basics, okay? This is just our very basics, what we have on this first page. So on page number 2, top of the page, make sure you have in the top left-hand corner, short questions, part A's only. Now let's pop across to page number 3.